Professionals in any field of work, what's the most ridiculous thing someone outside of your profession has claimed to know more about than you? Canon don't make professional cameras, okay buddy? EMT went to a chest pain call out for an older guy. The wife kept insisting that he just needed a few more sprays of her GTN, a potent and potentially dangerous oral spray used to treat angina, and he would be fine. She had already administered goodness knows how much before we got there, which had tanked his blood pressure to dangerously low levels. Also, after checking him over, it became pretty clear the pain was a result of a chest infection and not a cardiac event. So as we transport him and try to prevent him from dying from the overdose of medicine she gave him, she is still harping on that we need to give him more because she knows it will work. When we turn our backs, she whips out a bottle of it and tries to give him another couple of doses. After we confiscated it and sat her back down, she demanded we let her use our truck cell phone to call our manager and complain that we were idiots and didn't know our job. When we got to the hospital, she then tried to convince the staff there to dose her husband with unnecessary and potentially lethal medication. When we left, I noticed security attempting to disarm her of her bottle of GTN. We gave it back when we got to the air. Presumably she tried to dose him again. Physician, my mom knows more about medicine than me. I don't even try. Sigh. Doc here too. My mom also knows more about medicine than me. Double sigh. Social worker here. I had a banker try to tell me human trafficking didn't exist because she had never personally met anyone who had been a victim. Well, I've never seen a drug overdose victim or met a male sex worker. I'm a travel consultant. I have been working in the hotel world for 15 years, working in hotels as front desk, sales, group block coordinator, reservation sales agent, and now I'm a travel consultant. There was an Reddit thread, I forgot what it was for, but someone was bitching about how the hotel couldn't refund them. How dare they tell me to contact Expedia. Many of the people responding to that person were like, you go girl, you report that place, or something along those lines. I wrote a response to it and said, actually, the hotel really can't refund you if you went through Expedia. You didn't pay the hotel, you paid Expedia. But Expedia bought the room from the hotel, so therefore I did pay the hotel. Number, the room was Expedia's to sell, and you bought it, and the hotel can't refund you. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't, because Expedia has your payment, not the hotel. The third party doesn't provide anything to the hotel other than the dates of stay, your room type, and that's it. They don't even tell us your phone number most of the time. Sometimes they give us a throwaway email. That's bulls, rabble. Well no, it's not bulls. Imagine if I bought 10 candy bars from the grocery store and then sold those candy bars at whatever price I decided was profitable. The people who bought those candy bars could not go to that grocery store and complain that something was wrong with it and demand a refund from them, because they did not buy the candy bars from them. They bought it from me. That store may even have a nice refund policy, but I may have a non-refundable policy. And because you bought it from me, you're subject to whatever policy I have in place. Much like buying a room off of Expedia. I got this biblical flood of responses from people who claim to be like I work front desk. I don't know what you're talking about, and other people who claim to be avid travelers going, that's bulls. The hotel should do something, rabble. Dude, it is literally one of the most basic pieces of training you get in a hotel environment, that if you pay a third party for your reservation, any changes or refunds etc have to go through that company. I reckon none of those people who responded to me actually work in travel at all. Working in VFX. You will now and again expose someone to a naturally photographed shot you haven't worked on yet, only to hear that it looks fake. Similarly, a shot in which many things are indeed fake. Some yuts will inevitably pick out a real object and say it needs to be redone to fit in better. It just doesn't look like a natural part of the scene. Say what? It looks too synthetic. It's a physical prop. Shot in camera. What did you do? I let light fall on it in front of a light sensor. Also in VFX and animation, and the amount of people who think the computer literally does everything for you is maddening. One lady couldn't fathom why they would pay me to do my job when the computer just does it all for you anyway. It can't be that hard. Trust me, I wouldn't be working this much overtime if I clicked the rig or sim button and had my entire asset or shot instantly done. I'm an EOD technician. For some reason, there are a ton of combat engineers who think that they can do my job better than I can. This was told to me by a co-worker. While he was standing around, he saw a Humvee hauling butt towards him and his team. The terrain was very bumpy, so the vehicle was bouncing around. A combat engineer pulls up, gets out, and says he has to show them something they need to help him with. In the bed, there is an armed anti-tank mine that wasn't even secured or anything. They immediately screamed at him and cleared the area of other personnel. They asked him what the frick he was thinking, and he was absolutely convinced that only the pressure of a tank running over the mine could detonate it. He was very wrong. It could have gone off while it was bouncing around in the bed of the vehicle. He wouldn't listen, and he was absolutely convinced that he was correct. Freaking moron is lucky to be alive. Well, he survived that ordeal, but probably got himself killed at some point after the fact. My buddy and his team moved the mine to a safe location and blew it in place. My co-workers do stupid things, but not things that actually blow up. Wow. I used to run a pub, and there's a classic saying, everyone knows how to do two jobs, their own, and running a pub. Everyone knows how to do two jobs, their own, and running a pub. I'm skeptical about the first one. I work for a tea shop. Before this I worked in another tea shop in Britain. I once had a customer insist that green tea was caffeine free. It's not, if you were wondering. I would like to clear up a few misconceptions about tea, but first I would like to state that I am not a scientist. I am in no way a scientific expert regarding tea. I have worked in the tea business for the last 6 years. I have had extensive training and I am passionate about it. However, I admit that I do not know everything there is to know about tea. However, I do know this. 1. All tea comes from the same plant called Camellia sinensis. The flavor, properties, caffeine content changes depending on where and how it's grown, and then more importantly, how it is processed is what changes the type of tea. Black, green, yellow, oolong, poo, white, etc. 2. Since all tea comes from the same plant, all tea has caffeine in it. That caffeine content changes based on the above methods, but also it can change every year on soil acidity, rainfall, etc. It also changes by which leaves and which part of the leaves are used to make tea. 3. Tea has far less caffeine than coffee. 4. Matcha tea is a green tea that is slowly grown in the shade in Japan and naturally produces more caffeine. It is then finely ground, and because of that the consumer is ingesting everything from that plant rather than just infusing tea leaves and water, which one take out some of the nutrients from the leaves. 4. Not being a scientist, I have no idea about this rinsing a tea bag method to lower the caffeine content, but I have heard it mentioned throughout the years. However, the longer you brew your cup of tea, the more caffeine you will get out of it, so you can draw your own conclusions there. 5. If you think green and white teas are bitter, you are brewing them too long. No more than 3 minutes and try to get the temperature of the water around 79-82 C or 175-180 F. If you don't have a way of telling the temperature, just let your kettle sit for a minute or two after it boils. 6. Rooibos is a caffeine-free plant that is grown in South Africa. It has a very distinctive flavor that people either love or hate. Try it with honey and adding your own spices and it is divine. Also, if you love a milky tea, ignore the snobs and drink it like you normally would black tea. Lawyer here. Someone just told me I was in butthole because I would not answer a real estate question involving a document I had never heard of for a deal in a jurisdiction I don't practice in. Told me I had to know about it and was just being difficult. Don't worry, if you gave them an answer they didn't like, you'd still be in butthole. Medical laboratory technician here. A patient told me that the blood services in our state have him on speed dial because his blood was needed to save all newborn babies. So I said, "Oh, you must be O negative." He replied very seriously, "No, I'm O positive." When I explained that he probably was mistaken, he got very loud and condescendingly told me he's been donating for years and that if I had paid more attention in school I would know the basics of how blood works. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I mainly do logos for small businesses and the like, and the amount of people who ask me to give them discounts because they could do it is absolutely ridiculous. Don't even get me started on people explaining to me why me doing work for them for free will help me in the long run. I'm a mechanic by trade. A guy I know bought an older European sports car to fix up. It doesn't run, so he got it cheap. I told him that it's definitely going to cost him way more than he thinks, and it's not going to be easy for him to do himself. Not to mention the difficulties of finding parts for it. He would probably save money if he just bought a new one. He just blew it off and gave me some strange twisted reasoning about how he can do it cheaper and make it better. Okay dude, whatever. So far he's sunk thousands of dollars into it, and it still doesn't run. I believe that he's pretty well invested into the sunk cost fallacy at this point. Bye bye retirement fund. Can think of no better investment than a used German luxury car. Parts are cheap and cars like Audi are easy and even fun to service. My dad tried convincing a biology student of the importance of cryptozoology and the existence of Bigfoot. Bartender, I'm consistently amazed at how little people know about alcohol. I've got a million stories, but there's one request I've been getting a lot lately. My bar has a Long Island variation that's essentially a shot each of tequila, vodka, rum and gin, along with peach schnapps, Sprite, and 2 very sugary fruit juices topped with grenadine. People have been requesting this drink without the grenadine because they think that extra sugar is what's making them hungover. Nah man, you're hungover because you just took 4 shots and consumed 80 grams of sugar. Trust me, that 1/4 oz of grenadine is not going to make a difference. I'm a commercial property manager. In certain commercial leases, it's the tenant's responsibility to maintain plumbing, HVAC, etc. So you don't call your manager and demand your bulbs need to be replaced or toilets leaking like you would in residential. One of my properties had a main meter from the city then submitters to the individual suites. Our meters were monitored and billed by a third party who would then let us know if a tenant's usage had spiked. We would let the tenant know that they probably needed to investigate since something on their side of the meter was possibly leaking. We notified the tenant. He freaks out and tells us nothing is leaking. He freaks out further when his bill is 4 times higher. I tell him again, maybe get a plumber to investigate. He says he doesn't need a plumber because he is a water engineer. Side note, his business was one of those mailbox stores in a shopping center. Turned out his toilet was running. Oh geez, I hope he catches it. I'm a music producer, engineer, studio instrumentalist, and it's amazing how many of the artists I work with, many of whom are talented singers, but have no knowledge of music theory or recording, think they know better than me about it. It slows down an already tremendous process. I'm a water professional. Been told numerous times there are no asbestos water pipes. I've been told that would be illegal and unethical. Asbestos concrete pipes are one of the most common types of water and sewer pipes. When I bought a house, people told me not to bother with an asbestos check because it's been banned for decades. 1. It's only been banned since 2003. 2. The house was built in the 80s. I'll leave it up to the professionals to tell me. Had someone argue with me that vaccines gave their child Down syndrome. Yep, injecting unsuspecting babies with extra chromosomes. I'm a radio presenter. I once spent 15 minutes at a dinner listening to a woman tell me that I didn't work on a certain radio station that I had worked on for 6 years. It was quite honestly the maddest thing I'd ever heard. No, it's not that one. And if you don't really understand, don't worry, me neither. I once had a lady call my house 5 times in 2 minutes asking for some random person, even though I told her she had the wrong number and that it was only my wife and I that lived there. She said, absolutely livid, excuse me, I do not have the wrong number. I sell tickets at a ski resort. Last Monday we had Rotary Night, where tickets are cheaper than normal and all proceeds go to charity. Tickets were $25, but if you bought them online they were $20. This one lady comes up and asks for a ticket and I tell her the price, $25. She gets super angry and insists that they are $20. I show her on my computer how much they are when I ring a ticket up. She claims that nowhere online does it say that the $20 tickets are online only. So, I pull up our website and show her that it does indeed say that the $20 deal is online only. At this point she has raised her voice at me and tells me it didn't say the same thing earlier that day, which everyone I work with knew it did. She makes me call a manager. He says the exact same thing to her and explains to her that these tickets are normally $72 and she is saving money today anyways. Plus all proceeds go to charity. She gets angrier and states that she isn't here for charity. We normally aren't open on Monday or Tuesday nights anyways. My manager proceeds to tell her that there is nothing we can do about the price change, that she can either buy a pass or not. She goes to find her family and comes back with her husband, who tries to say the same things. Slaps for head. I don't make enough money to deal with this sort of crap. Pediatric nurse. So I love hearing how bad vaccines are, how medications are toxins and chemicals, how effective essential oils are, how the fact that each nurse does certain things a little different must be wrong. I'm a standard small shop barista and once a girl asked me to make her a hot chocolate with a shot of espresso, which is what a mocha is since we use the same chocolate powder for both types of drinks. I tell her, oh, do you mean a mocha? If I charge you for a hot chocolate plus the extra shot it will be more expensive than if I just charge you a mocha, mom. She proceeds to tell me she knows more about coffee and that the two are totally different due to the different way we prepare the chocolate. Instead of arguing with her, I go ahead and make her the drink but had already written the M for mocha on her drink label. When I hand her the drink she proceeds to get hella angry and demand I remake her drink like she said, a hot chocolate with an extra shot. So I go back to the bar and basically just put her old drink into a new cup with the HC for hot chocolate. She takes a sip and goes, yep, much better. Pharmacist. Have had more than one person try to convince me that their liver was special and that they developed a tolerance to enormous doses of Tylenol. Pro tip, you do not develop a tolerance to acetaminophen and no one gets to exceed 4000 mg day. Mostly, these patients have developed a tolerance to hydrocodone and are looking for ridiculous fills of Vicodin. Sir, Dr. A has given you the maximum dosage. I cannot fill the prescription from Dr. B. Frick you, my liver is special. Runner up, pick anything said by Dr. Oz. Frick Dr. Oz. My mom was having intermittent trouble with her internet connection. I'm in IT and, as all people in IT know, you become the family tech person. I went to investigate. Mom had a network cable running from her computer to an extra modem under her desk. The modem was connected to a coax cable running from the wall. Her house already had a modem and a wireless router. I asked her why she had a second modem under her desk. She told me that she'd complained to the man who'd just installed her dishwasher that her internet wasn't working well. He'd offered to take a look and, finding an extra modem in the basement, fixed the problem for her. None of this really bothered me as much as how hard I had to argue with her that this wasn't helping. She was convinced that, because she trusted the guy, he had to be right. She finally relented when, face in my hands, I moaned, I do this for a freaking living. My stepdad had a home office that he actually worked out of, so I set up the modem and router in that office so that all of his devices could be hardwired. Since he was actually working on the internet, he took priority. Mom just casually surfed. But yes, connecting directly to your router is great if you can do it, especially 15 years ago, when wireless wasn't as reliable. Second, think of a modem as a doorway to the internet world. The router just splits off access to that door so that multiple devices can go through it. And each door, modem, has a key, called a MAC address, that your service provider needs so you can walk through that door. But the world doesn't start until the line from your house hits the pole. So, knowing this, a second door won't get you to the world any faster, and it certainly won't work without giving your iSpit's key, MAC address. Even if you could get it to work, which I don't think you could, it would be like putting a second front door on your house. So basically the modem under mom's desk was just a powered on brick that was talking to nothing. I hope that explains things, but maybe someone out there can do a better job of it. And finally, the issue was a crappy, aftermarket wireless card in her PC that was a finicky beast. But it was so long ago, I can't remember if I replaced it or suggested she get a newer PC as hers was near end of life. I think I also moved the router a little. I did a lot of work for them over the years. It's hard to remember all the fixes. Oh, and my stepdad would slip me a $50 every now and again because he knew that, at the time, desktop support charged $80 a. It was a nice gesture and filled my beer fridge. Okay, well, if you know better you fix it then, is a phrase you should always keep in your arsenal. I'm a tattoo artist. Had a client try and tell me how I should go about tattooing color. She was completely wrong. and wouldn't believe me when I tried to explain how tattooing actually worked because her cousin told her how it is. Also had someone tell me once that they thought tattooing seemed pretty easy and that they could probably do pretty well at it because they decorated cakes at Hivi. Not a tattoo artist and I hate this. People get a machine and do a few and they know all. Yes, I can get cheaper work, but I pay for the knowledge behind the machine, too. And I go in with an idea that can be changed a bit to make it more aesthetically pleasing because it ain't washing off. You do it every day. I don't. Writing professor. Usually commentary on how technology has ruined millennials' ability to write. I don't mean handwriting. I mean the skill of writing. Technology has ruined millennials' ability to write. My mother complains about this. Her logic is it's not real writing if you don't use a pen and paper. I've given up arguing with her at this point. A know-it-all told me, a professional musician music instructor, that his favorite piece of music of which he claimed expertise was Bach's Fifth Symphony. When I politely commented that Bach never wrote any classical symphonies, and that perhaps he meant Beethoven, the guy simply said that he knew what he knew and that's all that mattered. Lawyer, and most clients are fine, but about 5% act like they know the law better than you because they did a Google search or read a Wikipedia article. Me, we can sue for A and B, not C or D. Client, why can't we sue for C? I read something that says we can. Me, I've researched it and it's not supported by the law and we'd lose. Client, put it in anyway. Me, I can't put in things we can't defend. They'll just get thrown out anyway, and it will turn the judge off to our good claims if we include a lot of junk claims. Client, I don't think you're doing everything you can to win my case. Maybe I'll find another lawyer. Historian, the amount inaccurate crap I hear about Hitler could write a book in and of itself. Anesthesiologist. Anesthesia doesn't work on me. Watching their eyes roll back in their head while I anesthetize them is a good reward. And those people know their stuff. It's been years since I had to be put under, but he told me, you'll feel it in about 10 seconds. I was thinking I don't feel shy, then I was out in about 10 seconds. It was amazing to me how accurately he told me it would work. It's not bad to not know things, people. Defer to people with expertise. I'm an airline pilot. Apparently I'm the only person that doesn't know how this stuff works. At least once a month, since I don't know how any of this works, someone will tell me how flying, airlines, weather, cancellations, maintenance, everything works. I usually have to hold my tongue, but when I don't, the usual response after I explain something is no, but this was different. Such things that I don't understand. The plane went vertical. The pilot gunned it. The pilot came on the intercom and said we're gonna crash. The flight attendant told us they don't know what's going on. This has never happened before. The plane was about to break up. Ugh. You should stare at them like you're fascinated and ask them if they died. I did have a wonderful encounter with a guy who was telling me all about his magnificent new romance novel and how it was destined to be a bestseller. He was looking down on me on account of being self-published, despite, you know, doing pretty okay financially speaking, and that he was sure it would only be a matter of time before an agent picked up his I crap you not 7-part BDSM masterpiece. Really, he'd gone full Wheel of Time on this mother. Absolutely nothing had been left on the table. He'd worked every possible kink you could think of into it. It was like someone had tried playing Mad Libs with their genitals, and oh, was he eager to go into details. He asked me if I wanted to read it, and I said sure, why not? Maybe it would turn out to be better than I was expecting. Which, I can't stress enough, was not a high bar. We were talking on OkCupid, and his command of the English language left a lot to be desired. Maybe he was looking for free editing, or someone to fluff his ego. I asked him if he wanted to email me a copy, or, nope, oh, I haven't actually finished it yet, he said. I've just done the first 5,000 words or so, but I've got it all planned out. Writing's the easy bit. Sure thing, buddy, whatever you say. Writing's the easy bit. Must refrain from B-slap. I had a patient tell me that I was a sham doctor for telling him that his dry weight went up by 10 pounds because he eats too much. He had a Jolly Rancher stuck to his t-shirt while proudly telling me that he eats nothing but salads. The ridiculousness of what you typed is just awesome. I imagine the comic book guy from The Simpsons just proclaiming only salad but not seeing the Jolly Rancher. Amazing stuff. I'm zookeeper. Please enlighten me as to why tigers make wonderful pets. MD, MPH, epidemiologist. People who are against all vaccinations. I'm a vet. 1. People knowing how veterinarians don't really want to help the animals, but how we're making unnecessary stuff and treatment up for profit. Last summer I was attending my friend's wedding, and the gentleman sitting in the same table than us decided to let me know how he is aware of my profession's little secret. In reality, I studied for years and still keep going on this industry, which is far from dancing on roses, because I truly care about animals. I also will always let the owner know if I think that putting their loved one to sleep is the most humane way to go. After all these years, my patients are still what keeps me going and what brings me genuine joy. I care about and like your dog more than I like you or the overwhelming majority of my fellow human beings, and I would never put you through expensive and painful cancer treatment if I didn't think it was the right choice. Now imagine how I treat your dog. 2. What kills me the most is the amount of people convinced that you can give toxic products to your dog's cats, especially alcohol, because reasons and muffy-fees. These people are everywhere. It's a shockingly common misconception. I've had the discussion about giving beer wine to dogs countless times. That is with my Bill's girlfriend. Unfortunately, we're the ones who have to deal with the consequences when idiots pull this crap, and it's truly heartbreaking. There especially seems to be a new trend of people getting their pets drunk because apparently it's funny, and then filming it to social media. This Christmas we had a record number of dogs accidentally drinking alcohol. Please, dear humans, don't give a single drop of alcohol to your dogs. It's toxic, harmful and potentially life-threatening. Even very small amounts can be fatal. There is no way you can explain that away. Your dog might be your best friend, but beer is one thing you can't share with him. If you want to enjoy a bonding experience, give your friend something appropriate to enjoy. I'm a teacher, so literally everything and anything to do with my job. I graduated high school, therefore I know everything you need to teach. I've had a baby, therefore I know everything about childhood development. I voted, therefore I know everything about government mandates about education. I'm a penetration tester, basically a professional good guy hacker. I've been told by a lot of people Macs don't get viruses can't be hacked. They do can, and that attitude makes it a lot easier for attackers because most Mac owners don't use antivirus. Penetration tester sounded way cooler before you explained what you did. Still cool though. I work for children age 6-17 that are in the governmental foster system, either for bad parenting or bad attitude. I get an endless source of parents that think they could do a better job. Maybe there is a reason why they lost custody. You use medication on children? You monster. I would never do that if I were in charge. Sorry, I know it's not the point of your post, but I couldn't help but get stuck on I work for children. Well said. That last sentence sounded like Ron Swanson in my head. Not a super cool job, but I deliver chips to stores. I had the milk delivery guy ask me why I was bringing in more product than the guy before me had. I said because we needed it. He said that couldn't be true because milk sales hadn't risen. WTF do milk sales have to do with chips? Similar to this, but I once had a staph infection on the outside of my left ankle. So crunching into school on the first day, a classmate walks up to me and asks why I'm on crutches. So I tell him and his response is, well, my brother had that once and he didn't need crutches, so I asked him where it was. He said on his arm. I am an architecture technologist and my mom argued with me for a good 30 minutes that there was only one way to build an interior wall. Sheet of drywall, 2x4 and another sheet of drywall. I even showed her websites that said otherwise. She still didn't believe me. Theoretical physicist. We regularly get emails from armchair scientists who claim to have reconciled quantum field theory with general relativity or shown how everything Einstein never did was wrong. Some of these contain hundreds of pages of neatly handwritten or typed mathematical equations. I am not sure what to think of these people. I think many of them are mentally unwell and hope they get the help they need. but a part of me wants to believe that there is a misunderstood genius out there whose groundbreaking research will be discovered in a pile of rubbish. That would be one heck of a story. So to the best of my ability, I try to give each email a fair chance until I spot an obvious bulls. I almost never make it to the second paragraph. Being told how to make movies by people who haven't ever made a movie. No, you can't do full post on a movie in 2 weeks whilst in pre-production for another film. What an insult to your investors. I was a bra fitter and the amount of women I had straight up argue with me about how sizing works was amazing. Oh, you've been wearing a 36B and couldn't possibly be a 30-40? Then tell me why your band was halfway up your back and your breast tissue was slipping under the wires of your cups. Side note, real 36B breasts are actually pretty rare. I've fit maybe 10 out of the 1000 plus fittings I've done and seen dozens upon dozens of women who thought that they were a 36B but weren't. The worst was mothers who couldn't believe that their 14-year-old was a D. Like, lady, she's only a 32 band. Her boobs are the size of an orange, not her head. Calm down and let me do my job. I've actually had some mothers go behind my back, grab whatever size they thought their daughter should be, and make the poor kid try that on to prove to me that I was wrong. Teacher here. Anyone who says they would just tell the kids what to do and they'd do it. Hahaha, you have no idea. Behavior management of mental teenagers is a skill you have to learn. It's bloody hard and emotionally exhausting, even when you are good at it. Getting their attention is one thing. Teaching in an effective way is an entire separate book they have probably never heard of. Teaching is hard. Like this video and this good boy will play you a nice song. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.